All right, young scholars. Last week we introduced the course that we are going to be running here, Info 3205 Digital Media Publishing. This week we are going to introduce Adobe Illustrator and do some minor tasks using creating text and gradients. You'll notice when you go into your course information and the tab for today's class, 129.25, you have these two zip folders. When you download them, you will open up these specific PowerPoints. The first one, Getting to Know Illustrator, provides you with some information on how to navigate through the certain toolbars and functions within the Adobe Illustrator program, which we'll show you momentarily. As you navigate through Illustrator, you see we can do a great deal of different things. However, within this course, we're simply going to do some primarily basic stuff. This week, we'll touch on Illustrator as well as the next 2 weeks. So you'll see here all these different possibilities: building shapes, moving objects, changing objects, etc. Think of it more or less like you would use word art in the past or building shapes within Microsoft Word. This class focus is going to be on creating text and gradients, which is that second PowerPoint slide zip. So you can create a point text using the text box panel, character panel, and you could flow the text into an object. You can change its position. You can text wrap it amongst your drawings. You can manipulate it based on what you'd like to do. You can create gradients or change in your color based on what you specifically would like to do as well. As you may have heard before, the color panel is based on RGB, red, green, blue. And you can also read through the entirety of this slide deck as well, as you so choose. So what I'm going to do each week when we cover a topic is I am going to show you some basics within that specific program we're working on, as well as include other YouTube videos for you to read or look and watch through to get a better understanding, in case you don't follow what I'm doing, of the task at hand. So all we're simply doing this week within Adobe Illustrator is we're going to show how the text can be moved into different shapes. So if you were to open Adobe Illustrator, you'll notice here you have the option for a letter size, a postcard size, common size of a web page, common size of a TV screen. So we're just going to use letter for now. So when you open up Adobe Illustrator, you see all of these same tools in the toolbar as explained in the Chapter 1 slide deck. You see here we have our text box option. So we're going to click that first. And we're just going to randomly type in a name here in all caps. And you notice here we have the option to change our text type. So I'll change it to, let's say, Onyx. We have the option to change the size, let's say to 48. But you'll notice nothing happened. Well, that's because we have not highlighted that text that we wanted this to change to. So now if we add another text box, you'll notice that those changes now apply. So let's type in George again. And you'll notice the difference. So anytime you use that text box, you click on it somewhere. If you want to make the changes, it's probably best to do so before rather than go back and try to highlight. So here we're going to make it even bigger, and let's put the last name. Let's say George's last name is Costanza. We go back and click our selection tool up at the top of the toolbar, and we can bring George's last name under his first name. We can click on that first George that we created, and we have the option to either show the properties panel, hide the bar, reset bar position, pin bar position. Instead, we're simply going to click and move that selected text box. So now we can expand it, make it taller, depending on what we specifically would like to do. However, in this instance, our intention is going to be to put all of these texts inside shapes. So let's go to the bottom here, add shape, star, and we highlight somewhere in the window pane, and we've now added a star. When you right-click that star, you'll notice a number of options we have here. Transform, arrange, select, etc. Average, simplify, smooth. When you click up at the top in the tabs, you'll notice the third one is object. And you'll notice here you can scroll down to shape and expand shape. You can change the pattern. You can repeat the shape. You can blend the shape. You can text wrap. When you click on the text wrap and make, it will make our star wrapped with the text George that we clicked on. With the text wrapped over the star, it's very difficult to see now. So we can click on the gradient toolbar here, and we go off to the side here. Our appearance, our fill, we can select this third option. First option is swatches, referenced a little bit in the second slide. Color mixer or gradient. We're going to select gradient. And we have our gradient slider here. We push it all the way to the left. It's all black. We push it all the way to the right, and it's gray. So we can change the different types. So if we go ahead back into the properties and we change that fill to red instead of black, and we click on gradient, you'll notice the same thing. When we go all the way to the right-hand side, the red is kind of morphed with a white and much lighter as opposed to a dark red. So we click back into our shape, and there's an arrange option. We still can't see the word George. So we click arrange, send to back. Now our name George appears in that second star shape we created. So now our other star here is a little morphed. We can select Object again, Text Wrap. If we release the text wrap, it no longer associates that George with this first star. So Costanza here, it's kind of too big for that first star. So we're going to associate it with the second star here. So you can change the size of this star by pulling these tabs like you might in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. And now we move our text down and we continue to modify, and we can click the rotate option or add points to our star using this little brackets down here. We then select our star and continue to make it bigger. To accommodate the Costanza text. We can move our initial star up and pull our George text into it to give us more room. And then we can again click on our second star, arrange, send backward. But again, because it was black in text, black in fill rather, the star, we didn't see the black Costanza text. So we notice our Costanza text still looks a little small, not fitting entirely inside our star. So we can continue to modify by pulling on the corners, the shape of our star. Or we can click back into the text and change the size. So instead of 72, we can make it 48 and pull Costanza into the second star. And we can continue to change the size of that star and modify and change and drag it over so that both stars fit nicely on our window pane. So we can then add a rectangle, and now it automatically came with that same fill and gradient we already produced with the other one. But say we're not big fans of the red anymore. Say we want to change it. We click over to our swatches, and let's say blue. We can click back in a gradient. And let's say we want to change it to be a fading sky. We click our options here within the gradient. The gradient gives us fading sky as one of the options. That was the closest to the blue, so we'll go ahead and select that. We can then drag our George text with the selection tool. Oh, no, we're spinning a new object here. Let's hide that. We select our George text and we drag it in. And we can make our text bigger using the corners just in the same way we did with the stars. And you'll notice that the George text, it looks a little weird. We can go in and change the fill for the text on that as well. And let's say we pick from the swatches option, let's say we pick red. It's a little easier to see. Say we pick yellow. It's not as easy to see. Say we pick orange. It's a little better. Say we pick red, pink, purple. You can modify the different color scheme fill for your text based on that background. If we click back into our rectangle and go back into fill and we make it black, we can't see anything. But if we go back in a gradient and we use the option again for fading sky, it turns back to that fading bluish. We again can select our rectangle and arrange and send it back, which now gives us a clear view of our text. So again, all we wanted to do this week was cover simple understanding of gradients, what they mean, what they do, and modifying text and shapes so that they work together. So again, as mentioned, I will put this recording into our folder for this week, as well as provide you with some YouTube links on how to do the same constructs and ideas using Adobe Illustrator in case you wanted to do this further, find more information, etc.